Dr. Hinohara, thank you for joining us today. Many of our listeners are over 60, and one of their biggest concerns is stroke. Could you tell us from your decades of experience what are the morning habits that might increase this risk, and what simple changes people can make to stay safe?
Yes, thank you for asking such an important question. You see, the morning hours are not just another part of the day. They are, in fact, the most delicate window for people over 60, especially those living with high blood pressure, diabetes, or hardened arteries. Research, and my own decades of observing patients, shows that strokes and heart attacks most often occur in the early morning, between 6 and 10 o'clock. Why? Because when we awaken, the body shifts gears. Our blood pressure rises to prepare us for the activity of the day. Our heart rate quickens, and the blood becomes a little thicker after the night's rest. If one jumps out of bed suddenly, or strains the body with heavy activity immediately, it's like taking an old machine and starting it at full throttle after sitting idle. It may work, but it also may break. So the first lesson is this: do not rush your mornings. When you open your eyes, give thanks for another day and remain lying quietly for a few minutes. Stretch gently. Move the fingers, the toes, the neck. This awakens circulation gradually. Then when you rise, do so slowly, sitting for a moment before standing. This small change prevents sudden surges in blood pressure that can trigger stroke. Next, hydration. Overnight, the body loses water through breathing and perspiration, and dehydration thickens the blood, making clots more likely. So before tea, coffee, or breakfast, drink a glass of water at room temperature. It is like oiling the gears before running the engine. Now about food. Avoid a very heavy, greasy breakfast which can burden the blood vessels. Instead, I recommend something light but nourishing, perhaps rice porridge with vegetables, a slice of grilled fish, or fruit with yogurt. In Japan, I often advised my patients to keep meals simple and balanced, not to overeat. Remember, after 60, the body needs less energy than before, but it still needs good quality fuel. And lastly, I must mention the mental state. Stress hormones are also high in the morning. If one begins the day with anger, worry, or rushing, the body remains tense, and this tension can constrict the vessels. Instead, a few minutes of calm breathing, gentle walking in the garden, or even listening to uplifting music can prepare the heart and brain for the day with peace. So the dangerous habits are jumping up suddenly, skipping hydration, eating excessively heavy breakfasts, and beginning the day with agitation. And the protective habits are slow rising, drinking water, eating light and balanced meals, and cultivating a calm, grateful mind. These are not difficult. They require only awareness. Yet in my long life, I have seen these simple habits save many people from tragedy.
That's so enlightening, Doctor. Now, many of our listeners want to know not just how to avoid harm, but how to actually thrive after 60. Could you share your morning routine and philosophy for keeping energy, creativity, and health well into old age?
This is my favorite subject. People often ask me, "Doctor, how did you continue working, lecturing, and writing past 100 years old?" And my answer always begins with this: I never thought of age as a barrier. Each morning I asked not how old am I, but what can I contribute today? This mindset itself is a kind of medicine, because the brain and body respond to purpose. My routine was simple, though perhaps a little unconventional. I woke up early, always with gratitude. Before touching any work, I moved my body, sometimes light calisthenics, sometimes just walking around my home. Movement is life. When we move, we signal to the heart and lungs that we are ready for another day. And it need not be strenuous. In fact, after 60, I advise against very heavy lifting or running at high speed. Instead, think of exercises polishing the body, not punishing it. 10 to 15 minutes of stretching, slow walking, or gentle yoga is enough to lubricate the joints and improve circulation. Then, food. My breakfast was never very large. Often I took coffee, a small amount of milk, and fruit. In Japan, some mornings I ate miso soup or tofu. The key is variety and moderation. Do not always eat the same thing. The body thrives on diversity of nutrients. And do not overeat. The body feels lighter, the mind sharper when not weighed down by excess food. But perhaps most important was curiosity. Each morning I looked forward to meeting people, reading something new, or writing down ideas. I often say, do not retire from life. Work in some form keeps the spirit alive. Even if one no longer has an office job, one can paint, teach grandchildren, volunteer, or tend a garden. These activities give the brain and heart a reason to keep beating strongly. Finally, I always try to carry joy into the morning. A smile, even when alone, relaxes the nervous system. Music, laughter, and small rituals of beauty, such as enjoying the sunlight or flowers, set a positive rhythm. You see, health is not only physical, it is emotional and spiritual. A peaceful, hopeful start to the day shapes how the blood flows, how the immune system functions, and how we face challenges. So my advice to your listeners is this: protect the morning carefully. Begin with gratitude, move the body gently, eat lightly and with pleasure, and engage the mind with curiosity. If you can do this, the years after 60 will not be a decline but a new chapter, rich with energy, creativity, and meaning.
Doctor, let's dive deeper into that first keynote you mentioned, starting mornings slowly and gently. Many people probably don't realize how much of a difference this makes. Could you explain in detail why this is so important, especially for those over 60?
Yes, of course, and I am very glad you asked this because it sounds so simple, almost trivial. Yet it is one of the most powerful safeguards we have against stroke and heart problems in the later years of life. When we wake in the morning, we are not just shifting from sleep to wakefulness. The entire body is making a very dramatic transition. While we sleep, our blood pressure and heart rate are generally lower, the vessels are more relaxed, and the body is in a kind of restorative mode. Then, as we open our eyes, signals from the brain begin telling the heart to pump harder, the blood vessels to tighten, and the pressure inside those vessels begins to climb so that we can stand, walk, and face the activities of the day. For a younger person with elastic arteries, this is usually no problem, but after 60, when the vessels may be stiffened by years of wear, that sudden rise can be dangerous. I have seen many patients over the decades who suffered strokes not in the middle of heavy labor, but within the first hour of waking. They jumped out of bed, hurried to the bathroom, strained while coughing or moving suddenly, and that sharp spike in blood pressure was enough to rupture a small vessel in the brain or dislodge a clot. That is why I always say, treat your mornings with respect. Instead of leaping from bed as though a fire alarm has sounded, remain lying quietly for a moment. Feel the breath, feel the body, perhaps stretch the fingers, the toes, the arms above the head. Roll the shoulders, let the joints awaken. This is not laziness. It is preparation. Like warming up an old car engine in winter before driving it at full speed. After a minute or two of stretching, sit up slowly and allow the blood to redistribute. When we lie flat, blood pools differently than when we stand. Rising too quickly can make some people dizzy, or in more serious cases, cause a sudden collapse. By pausing on the edge of the bed, letting the feet rest on the floor, taking a few breaths, we give the heart and vessels time to adapt. Then stand gently and begin walking at a relaxed pace. This whole process may take only 3 to 5 minutes, but it lowers the risk of a catastrophic event dramatically. And beyond the physical safety, there is a psychological benefit. When you start slowly, you send a signal to yourself that the day does not need to be rushed, that life can be approached with calmness and intention. This in itself reduces stress hormones that surge in the morning, and that calmer start can shape the mood and energy of the entire day. In short, beginning gently is not a small matter. It is a daily ritual of self-preservation and respect for the body that has carried you into these later years.
Doctor, in your earlier explanation, you mentioned hydration as one of the very first things people should do in the morning. Could you expand on that for us? Why is drinking water so important? And how exactly does it help reduce the risk of stroke after 60?
Yes, absolutely. And this is something that often surprises people because it sounds so ordinary, but it is in fact one of the most protective and beneficial morning habits we can cultivate. During the night while we are sleeping, the body continues to lose fluid in subtle ways. We breathe, and with every breath moisture leaves our lungs. We perspire even if only lightly, and this moisture is lost through the skin. By the time we wake, especially after 6 or 7 hours of rest, we may have lost half a liter of water without even realizing it. For a younger, more resilient body, this is not a major issue, but for someone over 60, especially if they already live with high blood pressure, diabetes, or stiff arteries, this dehydration makes the blood thicker. more viscous, more prone to clotting, and when blood is thick and sticky, the risk of a clot forming and blocking a vessel in the brain is increased. So, the very first thing I recommend to my patients is not coffee, not tea, not even breakfast, but a simple glass of water at room temperature. Some people like it warm, which is also fine, because warmth is gentle on the stomach and helps circulation. That one glass does many things at once. It begins rehydrating the bloodstream, it thins the blood just enough to improve flow, and it also stimulates the digestive system, preparing it for food. It is like pouring oil into the gears before starting a machine. People sometimes ask me if juice or tea can replace water, and while they can help, I always insist that plain water should come first. Coffee and tea both contain caffeine, which can raise the heart rate and blood pressure, and this is not the very best thing to do immediately upon waking when those pressures are already rising naturally. Juice contains sugar, which may be fine for some, but for those with metabolic issues, it is not ideal on an empty stomach. Water, however, is neutral, safe, and universally beneficial. Another question I often hear is how much water one should drink. The answer is not the same for everyone, but generally 1 glass in the morning is enough to begin, followed by steady hydration throughout the day. I do not recommend forcing huge amounts of water all at once, because that can burden the kidneys or dilute important minerals. Instead, think of it as a gentle, steady supply. The morning glass is the foundation, and then each meal can be accompanied by water, and perhaps a cup before bed if the doctor has not restricted fluids for heart or kidney conditions. But beyond the science, I believe there is also a symbolic beauty in this ritual. When you drink that first glass of water, you are in a way saying to your body, "Thank you for carrying me through another night. Thank you for the breath and the heartbeat. And here is the gift of renewal to begin the day." It is a quiet, nourishing act of self-care that takes less than a minute, but echoes throughout the hours that follow, lowering risks, refreshing the mind, and setting a tone of simplicity and balance. In my long years, I have seen patients who made this a daily practice live with fewer strokes, fewer heart problems, and a greater sense of clarity in the morning. So I tell everyone, do not underestimate that small glass of water. It is truly a life-saving habit disguised as something ordinary.
Doctor, another point you emphasized was keeping breakfast light and balanced instead of heavy or greasy. Many people were raised to believe breakfast should be the biggest meal of the day. So could you explain why a lighter, more balanced approach is healthier after 60 and how it connects to stroke prevention?
Yes, this is an excellent question, because food is both nourishment and medicine, and breakfast is the first opportunity of the day to set the body on the right path. After 60, our metabolism slows, our digestive organs are not quite as efficient as they once were, and our arteries may already carry the burden of years of wear. If the first thing we place into the stomach is heavy bacon, sausage, buttered toast, or pastries loaded with sugar and fat, we are essentially flooding the bloodstream with substances that make the blood thicker, the vessels stiffer, and the heart work harder. In the morning, when blood pressure is already naturally climbing, this extra load can be dangerous. A sudden spike in fats and sugars can create turbulence in the vessels, and in those with vulnerable arteries, this can trigger events like a stroke or heart attack. Now, contrast that with a lighter, balanced breakfast. When I speak of lightness, I do not mean skipping nourishment, but choosing foods that give steady energy without overwhelming the system. In Japan, I often recommended miso soup with tofu and vegetables, or a small portion of rice porridge, or even grilled fish with pickled vegetables. These foods are easy to digest, provide protein and minerals, and do not overload the arteries with excess fat. In Western traditions, this might mean yogurt with fresh fruit, a boiled egg with whole grain toast, or oatmeal with nuts and berries. The principle is the same: quality over quantity, balance over heaviness. Another important point is portion size. At 60 and beyond, the body simply requires fewer calories. Many people make the mistake of eating the same size breakfast they did when they were 30 or 40, forgetting that the body now runs more efficiently on less. Overeating in the morning can lead to sluggishness, drowsiness, and even digestive discomfort that lingers through the day. A light breakfast, however, allows the body to feel energized, clear, and ready for activity. I also want to emphasize variety. Eating the same thing every day can be convenient, But the body thrives on diversity. Different fruits, grains, and proteins provide a wider range of vitamins and minerals, which helps maintain not just physical health, but also mental sharpness. And do not forget the importance of hydration alongside breakfast. Water or herbal tea helps digestion and circulation. Finally, there is the mental aspect of how we eat breakfast. Instead of rushing, it is beneficial to sit calmly, to chew slowly, to taste and appreciate the food. This mindful approach lowers stress hormones, which are highest in the morning, and it signals to the body that the day is beginning with care rather than chaos. In my experience, patients who made this adjustment, moving from heavy, rushed breakfasts to lighter, balanced, mindful ones, found not only better health outcomes, but also greater enjoyment in their mornings. So a light breakfast is not deprivation. It is freedom for the body, protection for the vessels, and a gift of energy and clarity for the hours ahead.
Doctor, let's talk about movement in the morning. You've said that exercise is important, but it should be gentle, especially after 60. Could you share why that gentle movement matters so much and what kinds of activities people can safely include in their mornings?
Yes, I would be glad to, because many people misunderstand exercise after 60. They think it must be intense, that they must sweat heavily, lift weights, or run long distances to see any benefit. But the truth is that at this stage of life, it is not about punishing the body. It is about awakening it and keeping it polished, like maintaining a treasured instrument. After a night of rest, the muscles, joints, and circulation are in a quieter state, and if we suddenly push the body with hard exertion, it is like slamming on the accelerator of an old car that has been sitting in the garage. The heart may strain, the vessels may be shocked by the sudden surge in pressure, and instead of benefiting, one may actually invite harm. This is why I advise gentle movement in the morning. Movements that are kind but effective, movements that open the body slowly and allow the circulation to flow freely. Gentle stretching is a perfect beginning. Even in bed, one can extend the arms, flex the toes, rotate the ankles, and roll the neck slowly from side to side. These small motions help release stiffness and prepare the muscles for the day. Once standing, a few minutes of slow walking around the home or garden is very valuable. Walking is one of the safest and most natural exercises for older adults, and when done in the calm of the morning, it not only moves the body, but also clears the mind. Some people enjoy light calisthenics, raising the arms overhead, bending gently at the waist, or practicing slow squats while holding onto a chair for balance. Others may prefer yoga or Tai Chi, both of which combine movement with breathing and mindfulness. And I have seen many of my patients thrive on these practices well into their 80s and 90s. The purpose of this movement is to stimulate circulation, improve flexibility, and awaken the nervous system without placing the heart under sudden stress. Even 10 minutes of such activity can make the difference between a sluggish, heavy start and a day that feels energetic and alive. The key is consistency, not intensity. Doing a small amount every day is far more valuable than doing a large amount once in a while. And beyond the physical benefits, there is also the joy of beginning the day with movement. It brings a sense of accomplishment, of vitality, of being engaged with life. It encourages better posture, steadier balance, and greater confidence in everyday activities. In fact, gentle morning exercise is one of the best protections against falls, which are another great danger for older adults. So I tell people, do not think of exercise as something painful or exhausting. Think of it as a conversation with your body each morning, a way of saying, I respect you, I will care for you. Let us enjoy another day together. This spirit of kindness in movement can sustain health and dignity for many years.
Doctor, the last point you shared was about cultivating calm and purpose in the morning, beginning the day with gratitude and a positive mindset. Could you explain more about why this is so important for older adults, not only for emotional health, but also for protecting the body against stroke and illness?
Yes, I would be glad to, because this is a part of health that often receives less attention than diet or exercise, yet it is equally important, especially after 60. You see, when we wake in the morning, the body is not only adjusting physically but also emotionally. The stress hormones, such as cortisol, are naturally highest in the morning, and if we begin the day with worry, anger, or rushing, we amplify those stress signals, and this has a direct effect on the heart, the blood vessels, and even the immune system. Stress constricts the arteries, raises blood pressure, and makes the blood more likely to clot. In this way, a mind filled with tension can actually create the conditions for a stroke or heart event. On the other hand, when we start the day with calmness, gratitude, and purpose, the nervous system relaxes, the blood vessels open, circulation flows more smoothly, and the heart beats more steadily. This is why I say that the mind is not separate from the body. It is the conductor of the whole orchestra. For older adults, cultivating this calm and purpose can be as simple as taking a few quiet minutes after waking to breathe deeply, to look out the window at the sky, or to remember something or someone to be thankful for. Gratitude is powerful medicine. It changes the brain's chemistry, it lowers stress, and it gives a sense of peace that no pill can provide. Some people like to keep a small journal and write one thing they are grateful for each morning. Others prefer prayer, meditation, or simply sitting quietly with a cup of tea. What matters is not the form, but the spirit of starting gently and positively. Then there is purpose, which I believe is one of the greatest secrets of longevity. When you wake with a reason to get up, whether it is to tend a garden, to meet a friend, to paint, to cook for your grandchildren, or to volunteer in your community, your body responds with vitality. The brain is stimulated, the heart is engaged, and the immune system is strengthened. Without purpose, mornings can feel empty, and emptiness often invites decline. With purpose, even small purpose, mornings feel alive, and that sense of aliveness protects health more than many medicines. And finally, there is joy. Joy is not always something grand. It can be listening to a favorite song, enjoying the warmth of sunlight, or sharing laughter with a loved one. These moments of joy in the morning set a rhythm for the entire day. They remind us that life, even in old age, even with its aches and limitations, is still worth living fully. So I encourage everyone listening, do not only care for your body in the morning, care for your spirit. Begin with gratitude, move with calmness, and step into the day with purpose. This is the way to guard not only against stroke, but also against despair, and it is the way to transform the later years of life into a time of meaning and contentment.